Let's say you wake up and you have $100, in your emotional, energetic bank account. I think of it as a gas gauge, but essentially we're talking about the same thing. So let's say you have 100 in your gas gauge or your money gauge. And then imagine as you're moving through your day, who you're giving away and who's replacing that.
Yeah. Today, we're going to talk about shifting, clearing, and optimizing our energy through practical strategies.
And that's a great point, because with some of these, like we're talking about friendships, we have the choice and freedom to remove ourselves. But what if we don't have the choice and freedom to remove ourselves with certain family members, people we live with? Because your brain is constantly practicing the emotions of the people around you. So what if the people around you are they're there and you can't get away from them? How do we deal with that within our brain? Like how do we consciously and subconsciously protect ourselves from that?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some real life practical things? I know we talk a lot on a personal level, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing really great with this. But then I got triggered and I couldn't re-regulate myself after I was around certain family members. And what did you say to me?
Like maybe you're not quite healed yet, or you still have more healing to do, might be more fair.
Yeah. So there's that too, right? Like, why am I able to regulate around certain people and completely dysregulated around other people? Maybe there's something that's unhealed. That could be too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that, as we heal, it's not that we don't have a reaction to the people, especially if they are possibly doing familiar patterns or traumatizing things to us. But I think that we become more grounded, able to see it, able to maintain that calm. But if you can't, that's okay. Like we go into, okay, how do you limit the damage and how do you move into recovery? So you want to try to kind of capture yourself when you're becoming super dysregulated. And then also what do you need after? And I remember one time you were like, I just need some space. I just need to be outside. And you want to hang out with me, which I appreciate, which means you must not feel that I'm toxic. No, you feel that I'm a safe person to be or energized and calm. And so I was like, sure, let's just go talk about something completely different and just be outside. So, you went into recovery mode. You knew what you needed to recalibrate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the things you had brought up is, okay, let's say you wake up and you have $100, in your emotional, energetic bank account. I think of it as a gas gauge, but essentially we're talking about the same thing. So let's say you have 100 in your gas gauge or your money gauge. And then imagine as you're moving through your day, who you're giving away and who's replacing that.
Yeah.
Right? That's why all day. There's an energetic exchange happening with you all day long. Right?
Yeah. And I got to conceptualize it to be internal, external people, and then things or environment. Because internal, we talk about what do you focus your energy on? So if you're ruminating, overthinking, right, being perfectionistic, stuck in those patterns, those are good or negative toward yourself. We're talking about people, but then there's also this other variable, right? Am I okay, I always ask people when they're like, I'm on Candy Crush tonight, just unwinding. I'm like, do you feel restored after that? And sometimes they're like, yeah, I just needed to blank out for a few minutes and just not think and just have my brain refocus it, distracting in a way. And it worked. Others are like, nope, that just made me feel tired and I wasted my time. So I think it becomes very important to look at where you're spending your time. And we all we don't have enough time. But guess what? If you analyze your day, there's always somewhere you're wasting a little bit of time. So when we be really intentional about our time, right? Are we, even watching the type of shows we're watching? Environment, what I've noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, Eleni, but when I've been overstimulated, I'm I just want quiet.
Yeah.
And some other people in my household love having sports on all day long. And they love a certain level of stimulation. I'm like, can we turn the TV off, please? Well, actually, I'll just go outside or do something different. But I need quiet. So the environment that we're in, and then sometimes we're we need more energizing environments too. I will just say one more thing about environment, because I have found a lot of people here, like, because a lot of people are transplants in DC and trying to make it fit. And then, like, when I ask them, like, where do they picture themselves? Like, really like living in like nature, or living by a lake. And they realize that they're trying to make themselves adapt to a city suburban environment. And that really isn't it. I think that goes under the radar a lot. We just assume, oh, why can't I adapt here? Why can't I make friends? That's actually not the right environment for your nervous system at all.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas me, I like it's lively. I like things going on. I like the energy, because if left to my own devices for too long, I'll like the one. Just become lethargic. But anyway, segue. So yeah, let's talk about what else people can do to, like energy, like cleanse, if you will.
Yeah, so just notice, going back to that analogy with the gas gauge or the money, is as you're moving through your day, notice when you feel energized and when you feel depleted. Generally speaking, especially the research shows that scrolling is not good.
Right.
That's you might think you're doing that to help out, but it's not. So if you can't, let's say you have to leave the stressful situation, leave the toxic environment, leave the people that are bringing your vibe down, generally, like what you said, nature, very helpful, meditating, just sitting quietly. Even if people are like, oh, I'm not a good meditator, I don't have fun. Just sit quietly, focus on your heart, focus on someone that you love and care for and what feeling that invokes in you. Invoking a feeling of love, gratitude, and compassion is a good way to ground. At the same time, Joe Dispenza talks about this, the heart and mind coherence. So if you're focusing on the love and gratitude in your heart, what are you focusing on in your mind? Kind of like bringing those two together to make them coherent so that you're grounded, calm, compassionate, and gratitude. And of course, sleep, eat well, hydrate, off of the social media. Alcohol, they say, doesn't help. Although I will say that margarita helped last night.
Sometimes it helps.
That one margarita was actually very good. So,
It's sometimes what you need, but let me just, that brain coherence, like, how to actually do that, the heart brain coherence. A lot of times we think it's the thinking. So like if you were to just pause and like close your eyes and put your hand over your heart and you just started breathing into your heart and like imagine breathing in and breathing out. And you, as Eleni said, just bring into mind a feeling of love, peace, or gratitude. It's often easy to think of someone or something that evokes that feeling because we have a good memory. And you just allow that feeling to come into your body and into your mind. And as you're feeling that in the heart, the heart begins to communicate with the brain. So the heart becomes more regulated. We shift out of a state out of anxiety, and we start to shift into a state of safety and flexibility. And so just staying there for like a minute or two in that feeling, and then opening your eyes, and then just sort of being like, okay, where do I go from here? So it doesn't need to be something really big. It can just sometimes be just a moment or two. And that's why shifting out of your environment, just stepping outside into the nature. Or for me, I love water. That's very calming for me. So I might just go put my feet like running in water or something like that, So we figure out for us how to, again, shift our states.
Or earthing, how people put their feet in the dirt. Yeah, that's really helpful. But you know what you just described with stopping and, connecting to your heart and mind, essentially like the main thing with the first thing about that is the breath. Because I have noticed when I'm in a state of stress and hyperarousal, I am not breathing right. I'm breathing quickly, shallow. I'm not slow. I need to slow down and take a deep breath. I'm not paying attention to that. That act alone will help. And then the grounding is, when your brain is being activated and your body's being activated, it's actually being taken to a time and place that is not right now. It's being taken to a place of the past where you're thinking about something that happened, or a place in the future to something stressful that has not happened yet. And your body and your brain are reacting to that. So when we say ground, I didn't really understand what grounding meant until I became a therapist. Grounding simply means grounding yourself into this moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you do that to bypass the past and the future is to engage in the five senses. So sight, sound, touch, taste, smell right now in this moment is the only thing that is real. So when Lauren is talking about go into nature, put your feet in the water, go for a walk, any of those things essentially is grounding you into this moment. If you're putting your feet into the water and you're thinking about the fight you just had with your partner, that's not grounding. It's not going to help. You're not actually in the water. You're still in the argument.
You can start stamping your feet in the water and no, but if you feel the water over your feet or over your whatever, like you feel it against your body, you bring your attention to that sense. And you might be like, oh, but that asshole. And then you just bring your mind back. So we train just being in the present. So it's the senses.
Yeah.
And that, it's just a helpful technique in general is that what are we in any place? What can I see? What can I feel? What can I hear? What can I touch? It works. It shifts people out of states, gets them into the present, and the present, as you said, is safety, right?
Yeah.
That's where,
because you're safe right now, right? Like right now in this moment, you're probably safe.
Yeah, for most people, unless you're in a safe environment.
Right.
But most of us, it's, triggered past history. So you're just bringing yourself into here.
Because your brain does not understand the difference between what you're thinking and what's happening. So if you're thinking of a stressful situation, your body and your brain, your mind are reacting to that stressful situation as if it's happening right now. So think about this in a positive. What if instead you're thinking about a positive, calming experience and you're in the moment of the positive, calming experience? Then that is what is real, and that is what's going to make your body and your mind react in a calmer state. Also, we talk about the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that's the logical reasoning part. The front becomes completely dysregulated. It's offline. It's actually not even working when you're in a state of stress, fight or flight. So that's the other reason we're doing this, is to get your logical brain back online so you're thinking clearly and you're not like, oh my God, this is awful. Like just going off into all the stories that can be so familiar. Right.
Yeah. And another thing, often we have people who will say they feel they're highly empathic and they're like, I just soak up other people's energy. So, jury's out a little bit. Are people developed with higher sensitivities? Some are. Some become more attuned based on their histories of trauma because they've had to be alert. So either way, empathy is a great super trait to have, right? To be able to feel and feel for others. But people often ask us, how do you protect that? And I'll say this, not just for empaths, but for other people. How do I protect my energy around someone I know is toxic? I got this person at work that I got to deal with every day until I leave this job. So, often we use a technique called a visualization, like a bubble. Like having people visualize a bubble or a light around themselves, like a protective layer. And it gives them some space, right, between them and the other person. And, I think that it prepares you for going in, but also realizing you have some control over that energy input and output. And that often makes people feel more grounded because I think it's often about feeling grounded. And being prepared. And then also, of course, recovery after if needed.
Yeah. That bubble, I do that in the metro a lot. When I walk into the metro and it's super crowded, I think of it as a permeable bubble where only positivity can come in, no negativity. Positivity can come in and out, but all the negative stuff gets filtered out. And that does seem to help. And anything that feels like it's trying to come in that feels negative or depleting, I just send it up to the light. I'm like, just send it back to source. Just send it away.
Yeah.
Up to God, to source, whatever it is for you.
I often say that, giving it back, in a prayer. Some people that resonates with, right? I pray for them. Okay. I know we've learned this along the way, but sometimes we're just picking up frequencies along the way that aren't ours, especially if you're in a healthcare or caregiving role of something, you're exposed to stuff all day long. So, at the end of the day to ask what is mine? And what is someone else's? Because sometimes we're like, oh, I feel so sad. I don't know what it is. And you're like, actually, it's not mine. Your intuition almost always tell you whether it's yours or not. But like just asking and like releasing. So it's the art of, I mean, personally, I change my clothes when I come in the house every day. It's like an energetic like change. Now, whether or not it really works psychologically, it does. I'm like leaving the day behind me as I enter my house, which is a safe space for me. That like, I'm just like, I'm cutting that off.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great thing to do. It's an action and a ritual, that becomes associated with calm as well.
Yeah.
Like a shift from that to this. Yeah. So I'm thinking if you're going through the day asking yourself, what gave me energy today? What drained me today? Who energized me? Who exhausted me? What thought did I repeat most throughout the day? Just like really going inside as an experiment, noticing the people you're around who induce chaos or induce, this overstimulation, and just like really asking yourself, is this what I want in my space? And how can I clear it for myself?
Yeah. Are you ending the day with a high bank account or is it in the negative?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I think those are great questions just to get you to tap in. And even if you think reevaluate. Because what we do know is that like our capacity changes from time to time. So being kind with yourself, but just asking, reassessing. So that is definitely one technique you could do, asking those questions this week to see where you lie.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, is, protecting your energy selfish? No, I think it's a really important self-care practice. And it is a way to regulate your nervous system, keep yourself stable, and just like be very mindful of the energy around you and how you're contributing, what you're taking in, what you're giving out. Just as constant, thinking of it as a constant exchange of energy that is happening all day around you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, overall, you want to optimize your well-being, right? The healthier you are, the healthier people are around you. So you could be the person of light and high frequency. And I hope you are. All right. I think that's a wrap.
All right.
What do you think?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Let's shut this energy down.
Yeah.
All right.
See you later. Bye.